G'day, ZiggyD here with the first of 5 videos in a sponsored series for the collectible card game Shadowverse. Shadowverse is a free-to-play card game available on PC, Google Play, and the Apple App Store. It features a Gothic Anime art style represented in its storylines, voiceovers, and card art. You've got vampires, undead, dragons, and cute waifus with plenty of fan service. It's not going to fit everyone's tastes, but I know some of you will love it. Let's just jump straight into the gameplay with a match so I can show you how Shadowverse plays and what it does differently than other card games on the market. Okay, so the deck I'm going to play here is from the Forest Craft leader. There are 7 different leaders and they all have pretty distinctive playstyles with specific cards to their faction, but also mechanics that they heavily revolve around. Forest Craft in particular has mechanics that boost the card's power based on how many cards you've played in the turn. So we play a lot of low-cost creatures, and then we get effects like this, where this Beetle Warrior will get +1/+1 and Storm, which is like a charging effect, if at least 2 other cards were played this turn. So you try and play 2 1-cost cards on turn 5, and then this guy to get a Storm effect, and that ends up being pretty powerful. Epic arena intro, followed by epic versus screen. You'll find that everything in this game is really epic. Looks like I'll be going second. I'll get into the effects of that in a second. Pretty standard mulligan. We get 3 cards. We get to trade them off if we want to for 1 additional random card. I'm going to trade all of these because they're 4, 5, and 6, which are not going to be very helpful in the first few turns. Hopefully we get something. Ooh, we got 1 2-cost card. Could have been worse, but a little unlucky because I do actually have a lot of low-cost cards in this. Now, as my opponent goes first, they get the initiative. However, as a trade-off, they only draw 1 card, whereas I'll draw 2 cards on my first turn. And I also get an additional evolution point, so I can evolve an additional creature later on, which I'll explain as we get a little closer to that mechanic. You'll notice that counts down each turn. Play points, you gain 1 additional, which you can spend on your cards every turn. You can ramp that up with certain effects, particularly the Dragoncraft faction ramps up a lot with their creatures and spells to play high-cost dragon creatures. Our opponent is playing Swordcraft, which has kind of like these officers which buff each other and kind of have effects based on each other. Whenever another follower evolves, summon a knight. That's what the mechanic is on this guy right here. That should be dead before that happens. We have a Dryad here, which is a pretty good card for us to play right now. It has an effect on Clash, which is when 2 enemies fight each other. You'll notice that you can like click all the keywords in this game to get explanations as well, which is pretty helpful for learning the game. Whenever they clash, it reduces their attack by 1, so this will survive an engagement and actually kill the creature. So pretty good for us. We'll move on to the next turn. 2 turns till opponent's evolution. He'll be unlikely to attack my creature here, as it wouldn't be very good for him. He does get a rush creature though, but we do survive this combat. Rush is a keyword that allows. That was very interesting. I guess he really wanted to kill that creature. Rush is a keyword that allows you to charge, but only into your opponent's creatures. Storm, on the other hand, is another similar keyword that allows you to attack their creatures or their opponents, because normally when you play a card, they have summoning sickness and cannot attack that turn. The Dark Elf is probably the best play for us right here. Clash gain Bane until end of turn if the enemy follower has at least 5 attacks. So this kills big creatures, which we don't have to worry about at the moment. Alright, it's not worth us using removal on this. We're going to play the Dark Elf. Whenever the Dark Elf attacks, it'll summon a fairy card into our hand, or it'll put a fairy card into our hand, which is a 1 play point follower. As I mentioned earlier, the mechanic behind this faction I'm playing here, Forest Craft, is playing a lot of cards, and you've actually got this counter over here that tells you how many cards you've played this turn. Often creatures will have something like an additional effect if you've played 2 cards this turn, so 1-cost fairies are pretty handy for activating that. So we'll see what our opponent's going to do with just the 1/1. Probably not a lot, just attacking face, I imagine. Actually buffs it up to 3 with this guy. So we're seeing a bit of that Swordcraft mechanic come into play, buffing fellow creatures. With the fanfare, give +2 to an allied officer follower. So this one's a commander, which buffs the officers, like their ranks. So now the evolution mechanic is kicked into gear though. I have evolution available, which will allow me to play a creature and attack with it this turn that wouldn't normally be able to attack. So what I can actually do is probably play my Elf Butler. Now this guy has Ward, which stops our opponent from attacking past him. He must attack the warded creatures first. But we can evolve him by spending 1 of our evolution points, and that'll give him +2/+2. So going from 2/5 to a 4/7, which is going to be pretty useful, because we will be able to kill this opponent's creature. And whereas we couldn't attack before, we now can, but only our opponent's creatures. So the evolution mechanic is this mechanic that allows you to really play for board control. You can go face with it by evolving a creature that's already been on the board for a full turn, But mainly you see it come into play for playing for board control, and that's the big kind of spin that this game takes on the genre, allowing you to evolve these cards, empower them, have them change the card art and stuff, which is kind of cool, but allowing you to make those plays for board control. So you'll see a lot of shifting back and forth in board control during the mid-game. Opponent's probably going to evolve here, going up to 5-6 with the Mirage Defender, should be able to take out our 4-4. It'll leave him fairly weak though, as the damage does retain across turns in this game. So we could kind of do the same thing here with a bigger creature. The good thing about the Fortune Hunter is that on evolution it has another effect. Now this one doesn't gain as much power, it goes from 4-5 to 5-6, only gaining 1-1. But it'll put a Goblin Mage in our hand that only costs 0 play points. So pretty helpful for us. And I think that is probably the play too. The other play would be to play a Beetle Warrior after playing 2 other cards, but I don't have any fairies in hand right now, so I can't really do that because I only have the 5 play points and, you know, I have 2 cost cards that aren't going to help there. I could just play a Sylvan Justice, actually, which might even be better, given that this is just straight up 2 damage that'll kill him. You know what? I'm actually going to do that. This guy gains Storm, so what I might actually do is play this. Oh, no, I miscounted my mana! Whoops. Oh, well. we have a fairy on the board. That's fine. For some reason, I thought I had 1 additional play point than I did. Unless we might be able to do something with that Beetle Warrior a little bit later. The Storm effect can be very handy for a bit of a surprise attack. Opponent plays a Rush creature that is able to attack our creature. We're up to 6 play points now. We have a Goblin Breaker, which on evolving deals 2 damage to an enemy follower, or 5 damage to a neutral card, which is cards that any faction can have. So that's not too bad. We also have the Fortune Hunter from earlier that we could also evolve. Still 2 evolution points, 1 for our opponent. So we're definitely going to have to keep that in mind, because that's going to be crucial here in maintaining board control and seeing who can win out this game. It's actually been a bit of a slow game. Neither of us have done any actual face damage yet. Just playing for board control back and forth. Pretty back and forth in that regard. I'm going to take the 2 damage to kill this creature here. This is best when they have 2 creatures on the board, because then I could also attack with it, but I do have a more powerful creature on the board I'm okay with. My opponent could evolve something and kill it now, but I will have 1 left evolution point, which is probably going to go on the Fortune Hunter. Ooh, I actually drew a second Fortune Hunter, I didn't realize. So I can't take advantage of both of their effects, as I only have the 1 evolution point remaining. So its secondary effect will be dead, but still 5 for 4/5, so not too bad. Sage Commander wastes the Fanfare ability on it and chooses to not evolve it as well, which is very interesting. The Fanfare for this gives 1/1 to all other allied followers, but mustn't have had anything in hand that was going to be useful for that. Fanfare is enter the battlefield effect, basically. So, what are we going to do then? We can evolve a Fortune Hunter up to a 5/6. It doesn't kill this, though. It means we have to attack with both of our creatures, bringing them down very low. We could play a Sylvan Justice first, though, gaining a fairy, dealing the 2 damage, and then killing. I think we might just do that. We also have another play if we do this as well. So we can trade here, not even trading, keeping our creature alive. We can play a fairy and then a Beetle Warrior, which will attack in for 3 to face and put a 3/4 on the board for us. I think we might do that. So we're going to play the fairy first. I've made that mistake first, and now we have 2 cards played, so we can play the Beetle Warrior, and you notice it's highlighted, saying that he's got like an effect that will play. So kind of like drawing your attention to that card. And he goes up to 3/4, and with Storm can attack face. So we have a bit of board control now. It can be lost quickly. Our opponent still has an evolution, as do we. But against Swordcraft, this is a pretty good position to be in, because Swordcraft really wants to go very wide. They want a lot of creatures on the board, and them not having a lot of creatures is a bit rough, but depending on what they have in hand, they could flood pretty quickly with 8 play points. So we'll see how this plays out. But the game is tilting more in my favor, I think. We're in pretty good shape here. During this downtime here, I'll point out there's a few other things. You'll notice there's a death counter here. This actually is played with in a number of decks, but in particular Shadowcraft. Shadowcraft uses the souls of lost creatures to buff spells and creatures. Necromancy it's called. But other decks can take advantage of that too, on some specific cards. Uses a removal spell to kill one of my creatures, plays down Fanfare that gives card draw. I don't know if he actually got any because he didn't have any neutral cards in play, so didn't actually get the Fanfare for that, so a little unfortunate. Not really getting a... See, the thing about Swordcraft is really those synergies between creatures that you play them in the right order and into each other, and he's not gaining advantage of any of those effects, so that really works in our favor. Crystalia Lily is being highlighted because she has the ability to enhance. Normally she costs 2 for 2/2, but she can spend 6 instead to transform an enemy follower into a snowman, which is a 1/1 plate follower. So we could do that to remove one of his creatures. We could also save her as a strong removal later on. We could play if we had 2 fairies, we could play 2 fairies and then play Mars here, which deals 2 damage to each enemy if we've played 2 other cards. That's a enter the battlefield effect. Pretty strong. We also have Mighty Dwarf that we could just like throw down and evolve and clear up the board. So I might just do that. So we're going to evolve him. Putting the big creatures out now. He turns particularly epic looking. We're going to go ahead and take out this one. 2 damage to face from the effect. And kill this one. And 3 and 1 damage into face there as well. Pretty good. Pretty good shape. You'll probably use that evolution to kill the Mighty Dwarf here, I'd say. Otherwise he's in big trouble. And there it goes. Evolving the Swordsman. Does it have an additional effect? Looks like it does. Straight up destroys a creature with 5 attacks. That was actually a really good evolution for him. I can trade the Fairy next turn, but that was a solid 2 for 1 right there. So, good play by him. The Swordsman's extra evolve effect coming into play there for sure. So we're definitely going to kill this 5/1. I don't think there's anything else we want to do first. No. Going to kill the 5/1. We could transform into a snowman, but nah, it doesn't really help. We don't have any evolve points for our fortune hunters since we ended up using them elsewhere. A bit of a shame. I haven't actually got many fairies out this game, which is usually a big part of this deck, but we've been playing pretty well without even, so not too bad. I'm going to save the elf for a stronger creature. We'll just put down just a solid creature this turn, I think. And we're going to keep the Crystalia Lily for when she can play with her enhance effect against a strong opponent's creature. Though we have a solid card advantage right now. Our opponent only has 1 card in hand. It's a very good card though. A very good card. Dark Angel Olivia, which builds up his evolution points back up to 3. So I can actually evolve Olivia with that as well, turning into a 6/6. It's an expensive card. It was a good card to top deck though. I'm not too worried because we still have very strong card advantage. We also have a man-eating mangrove here, which would actually be pretty good. I could just play this and kind of lol at my opponent as they are not able to do anything. We could also just turn Olivia into a snowman. We have so many choices. We have so many choices. That's not going to come into play. Do we turn Olivia into a snowman? That might be the funniest play, though the mangrove is actually probably the strongest one. Does it really... How much does it help us though? I'm gonna turn her into a snowman. I think that's the ultimate kind of insult. Turning his big legendary card into a stupid looking snowman. Alright, that's pretty good. I might as well throw down the mangrove as well. This prevents him from attacking face, because if they do, creatures take 2 damage first, so which will kill 2 of those creatures. Probably see him trade with my 2/2. We'll see what that 1 card they drew was. Looks like they don't have too much card draw in the deck, or they didn't happen to draw it, but it's definitely struggling. Swordcraft, you probably want a fair bit of that, given that you kind of want to play a lot of creatures into each other. Card draw is going to be important. Takes 2 damage. Knows that the snowman will die, so decides to not attack with it. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay. We drew Deepwood Anomaly, which allows us to one-shot our opponent if we hit face, but if we play it, our opponent will go all out to kill it and actually has enough damage to do so. However, ooh no, the man-eating mangrove won't help. What do we have? What do we have? We could play some creatures to hopefully trade off some of his creatures, some big scary looking creatures. Oh, a ward might be the way to go. Doesn't really synergize with the man-eating mangrove that much. We could also just play the 2 5/5s here. You know what? I'm going to turn this one into a 5/1. I'm going to play the other 5/5 to encourage my opponent to trade as many creatures as possible. Then we're going to go for the one-shot with Deepwood Anomaly. That'll be a beautiful finish to this example match here. If I can kind of like orchestrate a bit of a situation in which I can one-shot my opponent, that'll feel pretty good. With not many creatures to flood, he might not be able to survive. Give all other allied followers ambush. Evolves it with those extra evolution points. Oof.
Anything for him.
Ooh, he does have enough damage on board to kill my Deepwood Anomaly. That could be a problem. I have another Mangrove. I could just play that. And wait for it. Wait for another card to help the deep. If I play it now, he just kills it. And then we're basically equal because I won't have a card advantage at that point. I think the Man-Eating Mangrove and buy some extra card draws. Hopefully, if I can get this guy's effect, that'll clear up the board. So I'm actually just gonna wait. We're gonna wait for that. This is actually a very long game for Shadowverse. Shadowcraft. Usually this game, I've definitely noticed this game is pretty fast and furious. Most games are pretty short. You get some pretty quick plays, a lot of like quick back and forth.
I feel slushy.
Makes an error, attacking with the snowman. Quickly realizes, oops, I forgot about the mangrove. That's unfortunate. Ooh, okay. 2 damage, perfect. That was the draw I needed. Deepwood Anomaly goes on the board. Opponent literally pooping themselves right about now. Literally. Big worries. Does he have hard removal in his hand? Because I've maneuvered this beautifully into a situation where I could play that. Strong card, but you can't just play whenever. Oh, the Bane with the evolution! Oh, nice counter! Opponent actually, what an interesting game. Opponent actually counters it with a Bane creature, which is essentially Death Touch, allowing it to one-shot the creature regardless of its toughness. So that puts us in a bit of a tougher spot. We can, ooh, this is good though. We get the Fairy Whisperer.
May the forest be at peace.
Gives us another 2 fairies. We can play another one of those fairies. And into Mars, which will do the 2 damage to all of his creatures. And them as well, just for fun. So that's gonna be very good for us. Ooh, I thought I had it with that one shot though. Thought for sure our opponent doesn't have a counter. But that final evolution point from Olivia coming together, stars aligning with the Bane creature kind of top decked there. Beautiful. What a game! What a game! I got Israfil, restore 4 defense to your leader. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 2 damage to all enemies. That is very bad for us. Oh my god, this game though. We can deal 7 damage to that. He's gonna kill all of our stuff anyway, so we might as well. Oh damn, okay. I think we have to try and kill this creature here. And I'll play the one creature that won't die to its 2 damage. He can go face for 8 next turn, but I'll be able to kill the creature at least. I'll hold on to the fairies in case we get something that plays off of that effect. We want those in our hand. What a game, man! Holy moly!
Kunoichi on the prowl. Don't call me short.
Okay. 2 damage, attacks face. Ooh, that's so brutal. He has probably enough damage on the board to close this game out as well. Oh, I can trade here. These are ambush creatures I can't attack though. So ambush, until they attack or do some sort of action, they will be stealthed and can't be targeted or fought in combat. So I have a handful of 1/1 fairies. I think that is tap tap concede after definitely a round of applause and a thank you for the awesome game. What a game! I think that was a pretty good example. Alrighty, cool. Back to the rest of the video. Through its distinctive anime style, free-to-play model, and cross-platform play, Shadowverse has built up quite a following. Currently, it's the 2nd largest digital card game. If you haven't been following the game, that might be a bit of a surprise, but it became the biggest digital card game in Japan right after launch, and shortly picked up a lot of steam in Western markets as well. Before taking on this sponsorship, I did a bunch of research into how well the game has been going since launch, and it seems that across multiple expansions since 2016, the game has had an extremely positive reception, with only a small dip down due to balance concerns in one expansion, which seem to have mostly been ironed out. In addition to its unique spin on things with the strongly differentiated classes and the evolution mechanic, its free-to-play model has gotten a lot of praise for being quite generous as well. So speaking to my personal experience so far, you get a ton of card packs, Take2 Arena mode, tickets, and in-game currency dumped on you on a regular basis, with plenty of ways to earn rewards through challenges, achievements, and the massive single-player campaign mode. Login bonuses seem pretty juicy as well. I got 2 card packs just for logging in today to make this video, for example. They nailed that pack opening minigame as well, by the way. The explosion when you flip a legendary card over blows me out of my chair. Some of the aspects in this game might be a bit overly flashy because it was originally designed for mobile-sized screens, so when you bring them up on the full screen on your PC, it can be a little bit full-on. The biggest thing that impressed me though is that right after completing the tutorial, you were given 10 card packs from each expansion the game has had since launch, allowing you to catch up much more quickly to people who have been playing for a while. Now this was a surprise. I don't usually expect such support for the previous content in these sorts of games, and one of the biggest hurdles to picking up a card game post-launch is that grind to play catch-up. The 50 plus card packs that I got to begin with got me quite a few legendaries and a ton of other cards to salvage or use as I saw fit to make some decks to start out with. However, it is a bit overwhelming to have so many cards to look through and to learn such a well-developed meta, but having so much to play with right from the get-go has been pretty fun in the 20-ish hours I've played so far. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first in a series of 5 sponsored videos I'll be doing for Shadowverse. I plan on covering the Take2 Arena mode and maybe taking a look at some of the leaders I find most interesting and the decks you can build with them. But if you guys have a specific thing you'd like to see in one of these following videos, then let me know and I'll try and incorporate it into my coverage. Shoutouts to Shadowverse and Side Games for the sponsorship, hope you guys enjoy the videos. That's it for now, I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.